The anime starts with our protagonist Alto Goldfilled getting a 0 on the draft exam. The teacher told Alto that even with perfect grades in the rest of the subjects, he couldn't get into the second year without a familiar. Now Alto needs to sign a contract by tomorrow, otherwise he will be left for the second year. Further, our main character tells this to his friend Lilia Kudelfit. She encouraged Alto a little. After that, the main character goes to the library, where a book falls on him. As it turned out, the summoning book had fallen on him. After drawing a summoning circle, Alto tried to summon a familiar. However, something went wrong and he managed to summon a demon, also naked. The demon said that she would do whatever Alto asked. He asked her to become his familiar. After the conclusion of the contract, the demon called her name, Vermeil. She began to seduce him, but Alto asked her to get dressed. Vermeil told him that he couldn't summon a familiar because it had too much mana. Not every creature can get close to such a mana as Alto, since for weak creatures it is like poison, but Vermeil loves powerful mana. Vermeil also said that she was locked in that book due to the fact that in the old days she brought a lot of trouble. The next day, Alto showed his familiar to the professor, and he was credited for the exam. During classes, Vermeil constantly stuck to Alto, which was very infuriating and brought Lilia to emotions. After class, Lilia challenged Alto to a duel. According to the rules of the academy, the loser in a duel obeys the winner, and Lilia wants Vermeil to never approach Alto again. Vermeil and Alto accept the challenge. I suggest watching this battle. As a result, Lilia loses the duel, and she must do everything Alto asks. The latter asks her to befriend Vermeil. In the evening, Vermeil asks Alto for a reward and drains his mana through a kiss. Later, she said that she knew a way to drain mana more efficiently. The next day, walking through the academy, Alto and Vermeil attracted a lot of attention, which confused Alto. Next, they are attacked by an enraged dinosaur familiar and flies away from Vermeil's snap. Further, all students were congratulated on passing to the second year. All the guys were staring at Vermeil's chest. After that, classes began, during which Vermeil continued to stick to Alto. This really infuriated Lily. On the way home, our heroes got to the bottom of the people from the Club of Dragon Riders. They wanted to avenge the morning's incident and forced a fight, but thanks to the efforts of Alto and Vermeil, they won easily. Arriving home, Alto told Vermeil to stop attracting a lot of attention, as this entails a lot of trouble. Alto went on to reveal that he wants to become a better mage. There are only 4 ranks in the world: gold rank, silver rank, bronze rank, and those who are trained in the magic arts as an apprentice. It is difficult to earn a bronze rank, and only a few from the academy manage to get a silver rank. Alto wants to be the best, earn a platinum rank. Vermeil hugged him tightly and told him to take care of his dream. After that, she began to undress as she needed more mana. The next morning, Alto went to the academy without getting enough sleep. On the way, they meet Marx, who considers Alto his rival. Further, everyone except Marx is called to the director. The headmaster called them in to choose a representative of the second year. In order to find out which of the 3 students is better, he came up with a test for them. The essence of the test was that you need to find a fairy flower before 6 o'clock strikes. Somehow Marx took part in the test and showed everyone his best companion, a rhinoceros beetle named Francois. After that, he ran into the forest, where he was almost eaten by monster plants. His maid stayed behind to keep an eye on him, while the others went looking for him. Our heroes have discovered a flower on top of a mountain protected by a Cerberus. In order to get through it, Lily had an invisibility potion. However, in order to become completely invisible, she had to undress. After that, she went for the flower. Alto realized that only one of the students would be the representative, and he needed to come up with something. Vermeil said that she could easily defeat the Cerberus, only she needed to take the mana from Alto. Meanwhile, the Cerberus smelled Lilia by smell, but Alto and Vermeil distracted him so that Lilia could take the flower. Vermeil destroys the Cerberus and Lilia takes the flower. However, she wanted to give it to Alto since he won, but the effect of the potion ended and he saw Lilia without clothes. As a result, the flower flew away and went to Marx's maid. The next day, on the way to the academy, Alto bought Vermeil a pancake with strawberries. The latter shone with happiness after trying it. Next, our heroes discussed Dragon Rider Chris. Captain Chris created the Dragon Riders and led them to greatness. She's also one of the gold rank holders in the academy and is on the student council. In the locker room, Lilia begins to suspect that Vermeil is hiding something as she is too strong. The maid immediately realized that Lilia was in love with Alto and told her to act quickly. Further, our heroes meet people from the student council, and when Vermeil came home, she said that their skills were on a different level. After that, Vermeil again began to pester Alto, saying that she would fulfill all her cherished desires. Next, we are shown how Chris beats up Rex for losing in a fight with a sophomore. She's also interested in Alto and his familiar. The next morning, Alto, Lilia, and Vermeil came to the infirmary to visit Rex, who was expelled from the Riders and beaten. Rex asked Alto what he thought of dinosaurs, to which he replied that they were cool. After these events, Alto became angry with Chris and challenged her to a duel. During the duel, Chris deduced that Alto was strong for a second year, and she was also very surprised that Vermeil blocked her attacks with her bare hands, without protection. Then, Chris hid from Alto's attack on the dragon and began to attack our heroes from above. It would seem that our heroes are cornered, however. Our heroes quickly accumulated a lot of mana. Having repelled Chris's attack, they climbed onto the dragon on the fragments of crystals and put Chris a step and a checkmate. After defeating the owner of the gold rank, Alto began to attract a lot of attention, including female attention, which made Lilia very angry. Professor Obsidian further told Alto to be careful with dueling, as there could be extremely unpleasant consequences if he lost. Chris received punishment after the duel and changed for the better, even apologized to Rex. At night, while sleeping, Vermeil kissed Alto, woke him up, and demanded a reward for helping win the duel. Alto said that you can only kiss with those whom you love more than anything in the world, to which Vermeil replied that she loved him very much. The next morning, Alto's whole head was filled with this, and he had a question. Can a demon fall in love with a person? For an answer, he came to Professor Obsidian. He replied that the demons can really fall in love with a person, and added that people for them are the same as tanks for mana. Alta thought that Vermeil needed him only because of his mana, but in the evening the demon dispelled this myth. Vermeil hugged him and kissed him without taking any mana. The next morning, Vermeil and Alto glowed with happiness. Alto decided to apologize to Professor Obsidian for the strange question, but the professor told him to be careful, because all the girls inside are real devils, but the joke failed. Next, we are shown how Professor Obsidian injected something into one of the students, after which her strength went out of control and she froze the entire room. As it turned out, this is already the fourth case in a year, which greatly interested the student council. They began to suspect that someone was behind this, but there were no leads. Next, we are shown how Alto writes his report on his familiar. However, it was too difficult for Alto to measure and describe his familiar, as Vermeil constantly molested him. This made Lilia watching him very angry, but Charlie just watched her and wondered how Lilia had a copy of the key to Alto's room. Lilia drank the invisibility potion and entered Alto's room. Further, our main character and his familiar decided to go shopping for sweets before leaving. Vermeil wrote in a report that the familiar loves sweets and Alto. Next, we are shown how Rex somehow wins over Chris in a fight. After we are shown how Rex summoned a large egg as a familiar and met Chris. On the way home from school, Alto had to buy Vermeil sweets, for which she kissed him in a public place. Then Rex's friend runs up to them and asks to save him. Meanwhile, Rex is out of his mind and beats up Captain Chris. Alto quickly runs here, and Chris tells him to run away from here, but he intends to fight. Rex summons his familiar, but the student council president, Elena, appears and easily dispatches Rex. Next, we are shown a meeting of the student council from which Chris leaves without listening to everything. Alto and Lilia will soon have an exam for the bronze rank, and Alto is very worried about it. Vermeil goes home telling Alto that she is tired, but in fact she found Professor Obsidian and told him that he was the culprit of all the recent incidents, and also warned him that if he even laid a finger on Alto, she would tear his soul to shreds. Next, he injects some kind of drug into Vermeil. At the same time, Alto's familiar contract seal lit up and everyone felt an unknown and very strong mana. The student council president was blocked by an unknown person. Vermeil's power, meanwhile, went out of control and she turned into a real demon and began to destroy everything. Then Alto and Lilia came to Vermeil. Professor Obsidian subdued Vermeil's power. He told the students that his research had yielded miraculous results, and that he was the one behind all the incidents at the school. Further, Vermeil manages to escape from the shackles and attack the professor, but Alto is exposed to a blow, and the demon pierces him. After that, Vermeil became even angrier, but she was stopped by Alto, and Vermeil regained control of himself. After that, Alto is completely cured. Because of all this, the professor goes completely crazy and injects himself with a rampage drug. He turns into a hybrid demon that feeds on other demons and wants to devour Vermeil, thinking that she has no strength left, but Vermeil takes down this demon with one blow. The professor tries to escape, but thanks to Chris, he fails to do so, and Vermeil destroys him, but does not kill him. Then Alto wakes up, and Lilia immediately runs to him in tears. Meanwhile, the unknown with whom the student council president fought disappears somewhere. Vermeil then tells Alto that she killed him, but his heart is only beating because she bound him with her mana. Vermeil apologizes to him and says that if Vermeil dies, then Alto dies, and if Alto dies, then Vermeil dies. Alto was disappointed that instead of 1,000 years, Vermeil would live only 100. "I'm sorry," was all that Vermeil could reply at the time. Professor Obsidian was detained by the guards. But many questions remained a mystery. Despite this, everything was resolved. Rex and the rest of the comatose students began to recover. After the incident, in order for Alto's heart to beat, he needed Vermeil's mana, and she also became very distant from Alto, since she considers herself a monster. Vermeil said that she plans to leave Alta soon, as she does not go for a normal life for both. These words greatly angered Alto, and he kissed Vermeil himself. He told her that she should always be with him, as Vermeil is his familiar. After these words, Alto ran out of the room and embarrassed Vermeil. End of the first part.